My 7-year-old came home from school on a Thursday afternoon, dropped his backpack by the door the way he always did, and said, completely matter-of-factly, "Grandma says you're not our real mom." I was standing at the kitchen counter cutting an apple. I put the knife down. I said, very carefully, "What did you say, buddy?" He looked up at me with those eyes, his father's eyes, dark and serious, and said, "Grandma said you're not our real mom. She said our real mom is somewhere else." He wasn't being cruel. He was 7. He was just reporting information the way 7-year-olds do, without any sense of the weight it carried. I said, "Come here." He came. I hugged him. I held it together. I did not hold it together for very long after he went upstairs. "My name is Teresa. I'm 41. I live in a suburb of Denver, Colorado, and I am, let me be completely clear about this, the only mother my children have ever known. Noah is 7, Maya is 9. I've been their mother since Noah was 11 months old and Maya was 3. I didn't give birth to them. That's the part that my mother-in-law, Constance, has never been able to move past. Their biological mother, Adrian's first wife, left when Maya was 2 and Noah was just a few months old. She struggled with addiction, serious, long-term addiction, and she made the decision, after a lot of pain on everyone's part, to sign over her parental rights when the kids were young. She's been in and out of treatment. She's alive. She doesn't have contact with the children, by her own choice, and with the support of her own family, who agreed it was the right thing for now. Adrian and I met when the kids were 3 and 1. We dated for 2 years before I moved in. I was cautious, deliberately, carefully cautious, because I understood what was at stake. You don't walk into a situation with 2 small children lightly. You think about what it means to be consistent, what it means to stay. I stayed. I am still staying. We got married 4 years ago. Maya was 5, Noah was 3. At the wedding, Maya asked if she could call me Mom. I cried in the bathroom for 10 minutes and then went back out and said yes. And she's been calling me Mom ever since. Noah never called me anything else. He was too young when I came into his life to remember a time I wasn't there. I am their mother. I am the one who knows Maya gets headaches if she doesn't drink enough water, and who knows Noah can't fall asleep without the specific playlist we made together when he was 4. I am the one at every school pickup, every doctor's appointment, every nightmare at 2 in the morning. I am their mother. Constance has never agreed. Constance is 67. She was married to Adrian's father for 38 years before he passed. She is a woman who has very fixed ideas about how things are supposed to work. And one of those ideas is that family is biological. Full stop. Bloodlines. DNA. The rest is paperwork. She loved her son's first wife. I think that's important context. She adored Lena, even through the addiction, even through the chaos of those years, because Lena was the mother of her grandchildren, and that, to Constance, was an unbreakable bond. When Lena left, and Adrian eventually moved on and then married me, Constance tolerated it. Politely, consistently, but that's the word. Tolerated. I was the woman her son had chosen, and she would be civil, and she would come to family dinners, and she would remember the kids' birthdays. But she would not call me their mother. It started small. She'd refer to me as Teresa in front of the kids when talking about me, which is fine, that's my name, but in a specific context. Go ask Teresa. Teresa made that. Like I was a household employee rather than their parent. She'd ask the kids questions in front of me that were designed to create distance. Do you remember when your daddy used to make pancakes before Teresa moved in? To Noah, who was barely 2 when I came into his life, who has no memory of before. I brought it up with Adrian twice in the first 2 years. He said, She's from a different generation. She doesn't mean anything by it. I said, she means everything by it. He said, just give her time. Time passed. Constance did not change. The visits were every few weeks. She lived 40 minutes away and came for Sunday dinners, which I cooked. I always cooked. She always complimented the food directly to Adrian, not to me. Your house always smells wonderful on Sundays. Your house. As if I weren't the one who'd spent 3 hours in the kitchen. Small things, all small, all designed to say one thing consistently. You don't fully belong here. And then my 7-year-old came home and told me what Grandma had said. I want to tell you exactly what happened next because I think the order of it matters. I did not call Constance that night. I wanted to. I picked up my phone 3 times, but I put it down each time because I knew I was too upset to have a productive conversation, and I also needed to talk to Adrian first. He came home at 6:30. The kids were upstairs. I told him what Noah had said. Adrian went very still. The way he goes still when something has landed and he's processing it. Not avoiding it, just absorbing the full weight before he responds. He said that exactly? He said exactly that. Grandma says you're not our real mom. She said our real mom is somewhere else. Okay. A long pause. I'll call her. I don't want you to call her, I said. I want you to tell me what you're going to say. He looked at me. I'm going to tell her she crossed a line. And if she does it again? He was quiet. Adrian, if she says that to our children again, what happens? She won't. What if she does? He said, then we limit the visits. It wasn't everything I wanted, but it was more than I'd gotten the previous 2 times I'd raised this, and I believed he meant it. I knew him well enough to know the difference between Adrian saying something to end a conversation and Adrian saying something because he'd decided it was true. He called Constance that night. I didn't listen to the call. I took a bath and tried to decompress. He came and found me afterward and said she'd denied it. Said Noah must have misunderstood. Said she would never say something like that intentionally. Did you believe her? I asked. He hesitated. Adrian. No, he said. I didn't. Good. But here's where it escalated, and I want you to understand this part clearly. Constance didn't stop. She just got more careful. The next Sunday dinner, she was pleasant. Almost performatively pleasant. The kind of pleasant that has a message underneath it, which is, I am being so reasonable right now. But 2 Sundays after that, Maya came to me while I was doing dishes and said, quietly, the way 9-year-olds say things they're not sure they should be saying, Mom, is it weird that I don't have the same last name as my other grandma's family? I turned off the water. What do you mean, sweetheart? Grandma Constance was telling me about our family tree. She showed me on her phone. She said you're not on it. A pause. Is that because you're adopted into our family? Adopted into our family. A 9-year-old's reframing of something an adult had said to her. An adult who had, I was now certain, been having deliberate conversations with my children about their family structure, in ways specifically designed to position me as temporary, as peripheral. I said, calmly, I was very calm. I want you to know how much that calm cost me. You're my daughter, Maya. Families are made in a lot of different ways, and ours was made when I married your dad and became your mom. That's real. That's permanent. She nodded. I know, she said. I just wondered. She went back to her room. I stood at the sink for a long time. Then I called Maya's school. I need to explain why I called the school, because I think it might not be immediately obvious. Maya had been having some behavioral issues. Nothing serious, but her teacher had mentioned in a recent conference that she seemed distracted, occasionally tearful, had made some comments about her family that the teacher found worth noting. We'd talked about it and attributed it to a phase, to the normal complexity of a blended family, to the fact that 9-year-olds are navigating a lot. I called Maya's teacher, Ms. Okonkwo, and I told her what had been happening. Not all of it. Not every Sunday dinner's worth of accumulated small cruelties, but the specific recent incidents. What Noah had said. What Maya had said at the sink. Ms. Okonkwo listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Teresa, I'm glad you called. Some of what Maya has said in class connects to what you're describing. I think we should have a conversation. With the school counselor, with you and Adrian, and I'd also like to speak with the grandmother directly, if that's possible." I said, "She won't like that." Ms. Okonkwo said, "That's all right. This is about Maya." The meeting was scheduled for a Tuesday at 10 in the morning. Adrian took the morning off work. I took the morning off work. And Constance, who had been informed by Adrian, in terms that left no room for misinterpretation, that her attendance was not optional, drove 40 minutes and arrived, as she always arrived everywhere, precisely on time. She walked into that conference room in her good coat, the one she wore when she wanted to be taken seriously, and she looked at Ms. Okonkwo, and the school counselor, Dr. Reyes, and me, and she sat down with the expression of someone who has decided in advance that this is an inconvenience being inflicted upon them by unreasonable people. Dr. Reyes opened the meeting. She explained that Maya had been showing signs of confusion and distress related to her family identity, that she had made specific comments in sessions that indicated she was receiving contradictory messages about her family structure from different adults in her life, that this kind of confusion in children of blended families could cause real and lasting harm if not addressed. She was calm, professional, precise. Constance said, "I don't know what Teresa has told you, but I have always," Dr. Reyes said, gently but firmly, "Mrs. Constance, I'd like to share specifically what Maya said in her sessions, if that's all right." Constance closed her mouth. Dr. Reyes opened a folder. She read from her notes. Maya's words, recorded during school counseling sessions over the past 2 months. Maya asking whether she was really part of her family. Maya saying that her grandmother had told her that families come from the same blood. Maya saying she was worried that if something happened to her dad, Teresa might not have to stay. Might not have to stay. The room was very quiet. I looked at Constance. Her face had done something I hadn't seen it do before. The composure was still there, but something underneath it had shifted. She looked, for the first time since I'd known her, uncertain. Ms. Okonkwo said, "These are direct quotes from Maya, gathered over multiple sessions. We want to be clear that we're not assigning blame. Our priority is Maya's well-being. But we do need all of the adults in her life to be aligned on the message she receives about her family." Adrian said, and I want to give him credit for this because he said it clearly and without hedging. "My wife is Maya's mother. She is Noah's mother. That is not a complicated statement, and it's the only statement that should be made to our children about this." Constance said nothing. Dr. Reyes said, "Ms. Constance, we'd like to ask you to commit to some specific language guidelines when you're with the children. We can provide resources about how to talk to kids in blended families in ways that support their security rather than undermine it." Another silence. Then Constance said, very quietly, "I didn't realize." I want to be careful about how I characterize what came next, because calling it revenge feels wrong. It wasn't revenge, it was consequence, which is a different thing. After the meeting, in the parking lot, Constance and I ended up a few feet apart while Adrian was on a call. She looked at me and she said, "I didn't think I was hurting them." I said, "I know. I thought I was just—" She stopped. "Lena is their mother, biologically, and I thought it was important that they know that." "Lena chose not to be in their lives," I said. "I chose to be. Every day for 6 years, I've chosen to be. That's what a mother is." She looked at me for a long moment. She didn't apologize. Not that day. I didn't expect her to. But something changed after that meeting. Constance came to Sunday dinners and she was different. Not dramatically, not suddenly warm, but careful in a new way. Like she was paying attention to things she hadn't paid attention to before. She started saying, "Your mom," when she talked to the kids about me. I noticed the first time, and I didn't react because I didn't want to make it into a thing. I just noted it. 3 months after the school meeting, she called me. Not Adrian, me. She asked if I'd like to have lunch, just the two of us. I said yes. Because I'm a complicated person, and I contain multitudes, and I also believed, standing in my kitchen with my phone in my hand, that it was the right thing to do for my children. We had lunch at a place she chose, a nice Italian restaurant, and we talked for 2 hours. She told me about Adrian as a child. Stories I hadn't heard. The particular kid he'd been, nervous and funny and obsessed with building things. She brought photographs, actual printed photographs, from a small album she'd carried in her purse. She showed me one of Adrian at 7, sitting on a porch, squinting into the sun. She said, "Noah makes that exact face." I said, "I know. I love that face." She looked at me across the table, and I'm not certain, but I think something landed for her in that moment. That I knew these children. That I had been paying attention to them in the specific, particular way that parents pay attention to their children. That I loved them in a way that didn't need a bloodline to be real. She didn't say any of that, but I think she understood it. She said, "I was protecting them. In my mind, I was protecting them." "From what?" I asked. She was quiet for a moment. "From losing another mother," she said. I sat with that. It was the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. And it helped, even though it didn't excuse any of it, because it gave me something to work with. A reason that wasn't cruelty. A fear I could understand, even if I couldn't forgive the way she'd acted on it. Maya is 10 now. Noah just turned 8. They are, and I say this as someone who knows them completely, extraordinary people. Maya has her dad's stubbornness and her own fierce sense of fairness that she applies to everything, including whether you've cut her sandwich in the right shape. Noah is gentle and observant, and recently informed me that he's decided clouds are his favorite thing to look at, which is exactly the kind of sentence that makes me want to sit down on the floor and just be grateful for a moment. They call me Mom, both of them, without hesitation, without qualification. Constance comes to Sunday dinners. She is not the grandmother I would have designed for my children. She's complicated, and she has a long history of getting things wrong in specific ways that cost real people real things. But she's their grandmother. She loves them, and she is, slowly, learning to love me too, or at least to understand me. Which, for a 67-year-old woman who has held certain beliefs for decades, is something. She came to Noah's birthday party last month. She brought a gift she'd clearly put thought into, a book about clouds. I don't know how she knew. Maybe Adrian told her. Maybe she'd just been paying attention. She handed it to him, and he opened it, and his face did the thing it does, that lit-up thing. And he looked at her and said, "Grandma, this is perfect." She looked pleased. A real, unguarded pleased. Not performed. I was across the room, and she caught my eye for a second, and I nodded. She nodded back. It wasn't a resolution. Life doesn't work in resolutions. It was something smaller and more real. Two people who had been in conflict, acknowledging each other across a birthday party, over a book about clouds, because of a little boy who loves them both. That's enough. That has to be enough. I think about the Thursday afternoon when Noah came home and dropped his backpack and told me what Grandma had said. I think about standing at the kitchen counter with a knife in my hand and the particular sensation of something shifting in my chest. And I think about what I did next. I put the knife down. I called him over. I held him. I didn't explain. I didn't defend. I didn't make him carry the weight of something that was an adult's problem. I just held him. Because that's what mothers do. Not real mothers. Not biological mothers. Not mothers by blood or paperwork or anyone's definition but the only one that matters. Just mothers. Before you go, I want you to think about something. We spend a lot of time arguing about what makes a family real. Blood, law, time, love. People have strong opinions, and some of those opinions get spoken into the ears of children who are just trying to figure out where they belong. Here's what I know from living this. A mother is not a category. It's a practice. It's the playlist at bedtime, and the headache, and the water. It's the Thursday afternoon when you put the knife down and open your arms. It's showing up, not once, not twice, every day, for years, without keeping score. Nobody gets to tell your children what your love is worth. Not a grandmother, not a family tree, not a bloodline. The only people who get to decide that are the ones who lived inside it. And my children already know.